We also want to take a look at adding a header or footer to our slides. To do that, the process is very similar to adding a header or footer in another Microsoft Office program like Word or Excel. We're going to go to the Insert tab, and we have a button on our text group for header and footer. So I'm going to click on that button, and I should then see my header and footer dialog box. When it opens, you'll notice I have two different tabs. The first tab here is the Slide tab. So anything I choose on this tab is going to apply to my actual slides and the way they're displayed in the presentation. If I click on the Notes and Handout tab, then all the options that I choose here will show up on any handouts that I print or my notes pages, just like I just created by entering text on the notes pane. So I'm going to go back to the slide and look at some of the options that we have here. And we can choose to insert the date and time, and we can choose it to update automatically. So every time that we open the presentation and make any changes, it will change our date for us. Or I can choose a fixed date. It's pulled the current date automatically, but I could change that at any time by simply deleting the text that's there or typing over it. You'll also see that once I've clicked the date and time, that there's a black box on my preview here. That shows me where my date and time are going to show up on the slide. If I add the slide number, notice the box over here is now black, and that's where my slide number will print on my presentation. I can add a footer. So if I want to add something on the bottom of every slide, like created by Mrs. Montgomery, I could enter the footer in here, and notice now this middle box is black, so that's where my footer will show up. If I open this box and some of these are selected and I don't want them, all I have to do is deselect them, and you'll notice the box goes back to being white. Once I've made these choices, I can apply them to all slides in the presentation, or click the Apply button to apply them only to the selected slide. So I'm going to apply this to all. Now you'll see every slide in my presentation now has the date at the bottom and the slide number. If I go back into this, I can choose not to show this information on my first slide. So sometimes you want that first slide to be nice and clean, and I'm going to apply that to all. So now if I go back to my title slide, it does not have a slide number or the date. I can also do the same thing for my notes pages or handouts. So I go back to my head and footer button on my Insert tab. This time I'm going to go to the Notes and Handouts tab, and you'll notice I have the same options with one exception. I don't have the option to not show this on the first slide, since these are applying to printouts. So I can again put the date and time. Here I also have a header option. Because these are printouts, there's going to be something at the header, something that you could add at the top. So you'll notice my date and time is going to show up right here. If I choose a header, it's going to show up on the left side of my page. And so I could put something like the title of my presentation here. The page number is going to show up at the bottom right. And then my footer on the bottom left. And this can be the same footer that was on my slides, or it can be a different footer. And then I can choose Apply to All. Notice there's not an option to just apply on this, because for handouts it's going to apply to all slides, because many times multiple slides are on one page. So if I want to see what that looks like, I'm going to go to my Print Preview, just like we did before, to look at our notes, and we're still on notes pages, so you can see, zoom in here, the title that I entered on the header, the date, the page number, and my footer are all showing up on my notes page. If I go look at my handouts, let's do a 6 slides per page, you can see the same things are there. there's my page number, my footer, and this gives us a good view. You can see what information is still on the slide as far as headers and footers go as well. So that's all there is to headers and footers.